Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing good today. I just kind of wanted to go ahead and kind of just really make a video based on the personal, on my personal wish list of monsters I'd like to see return in Monster Hunter 6. Some of these are going to be alternate choices to things we already have. Some of these are going to be picks from spin-off series such as Frontier, Online, Hunter Explorer, and whatever else exists that is a Monster Hunter spin-off. And then some of these, yeah, like I said, alternate switches and things like that, or just, I haven't seen these. They've been here before, but it's just been so long. So, now, I will say that I'm not going to really get, speak specifics and details on, like, movesets, environment, how certain monsters should fit into the game, this, that, and the third. This is solely either based on experience or inexperience. Again, some of these monsters I have yet to actually confront and fight, and I think that if we're going to get a huge visual, audio, and gameplay upgrade, or update, I guess is one way to put it, in the next gen Monster Hunter, I feel that now's a good time before the official announcement were to actually release on what monsters might make the cut. Again, this is a personal list, but if you have your own specific choices, if you agree or disagree on anything, please let me know down below, like the video and subscribe. I appreciate that so much. Now, to go ahead and get started here, one of the first monsters I would actually love to see make a return would be Monoblos, and I hope I'm saying that right. Now, reason simply is single horn Diablos. The main reason, I'm honestly just kind of sick and bored of Diablos and Black Diablos. I think they have played a rather crucial part and are very integral to being a very strong, aggressive beast to confront, which allows players to understand aggressive monsters and how to interact with monsters who constantly charge and consistently move around. And I mean, the demo for Monster Hunter World, one of my friends and I were playing, basically could one-shot you. Obviously, because none of the armor was suited or tailored to the specific needs of fighting a Diablos, so it just presented a problem that was impossible to deal with at the time. It felt like, at least, for a lot of us newcomers. But with Monoblos, I think that given one, Daimyo Hermitor, and hopefully this is the correct one, has the skull of the monster itself, Monoblos. And I feel like if we were to change for another desert, wyvern who can kind of just take control of the area for a little while, I figured that Monoblos kind of makes the perfect choice on that matter. Simple enough monster, acts pretty much like Diablos. And I'm not saying that Diablos can't be in the game all the same, but this is one of those moments where I'd like to say that this is kind of an alternate switch. Instead of a Diablos, let's just have Monoblos, kind of change up what we got so far, and then we can move it. Again, I do also understand that Diablos is rather super iconic. Even in the Monster Hunter movie, it's one of the main monsters that you see for a majority of the film. I would not recommend a whole lot of people to watch it unless you just want to laugh at it. By all means, then I would recommend it. They do a good attempt at trying to visualize some of the monsters in there. Diablos and Rathalos and a couple other monsters are done pretty well visually, but yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. So yeah, I would love to see Monoblos make an entryway. Following Monoblos, I would like to personally, and this is going to be a little weird, but I'm going to explain why. Scarred Yin Garuga. Now, why I don't say Yin Garuga, I personally just don't find normal Yin Garuga entertaining. And there's probably some deviants, variants, subspecies, things like that where they're more interesting than the OG, but I don't see a game that puts the other version of and not the original. Like I couldn't imagine a game where Rathalos and Raytheon were not in the game, but they put Silver or Dread King or, something of that nature. That's just never going to happen, right? They're not going to put Thunderlord without normal Zynogra. They're not going to put Soul Seer without original Mitsutsune. So, I understand that Yin Garuga would have to take a slot in that, which is fine, but I personally have a strong preference to Scarred Yin Garuga. For one, I use its set, and at least, back then I used to use its set in World or in Iceborne. I also enjoyed its encounter. I think it's actually super fun super dangerous, kind of keeps you on your toes, and I enjoy that aspect of Monster Hunter when I have to fight something that isn't overly difficult, but it's kind of full of fun gimmicks that are workable in a fight, which is tricky to say, and I don't mean gimmicks like supernovas, you know, Tiasha, Lunastra, and Alatreon, and I don't mean those kind of gimmicks. I just mean, you know, some fights, some monsters have a gimmicky touch to them. Like Ruiner Nergi has a kind of gimmick where, one, it can jump and dash relatively quickly compared to its original cousin, just the normal, you know, Nergigante, but also when it tackles its shoulder into the ground, if it like hits again, so to speak, or lifts its head up in a thrashing motion, it will actually just send out spikes that cause bleed. I think it is infuriating to deal with that, but that's how I feel about Scardian Garuga, in which it's infuriating, but it's also super fun. He has a rapid fire shot, dash quickly, the nosedive tackle, which obviously the normal one does, but I think Scardian Garuga does it better. So that's my second personal pick. Also, none of these are in a specific list style. Like, I'm not saying I'd rather Monobolus over all of these. This is just a quick way to, you know, put them all together. Now, this one might be a bit of an odd choice, but I'm going to follow up with Plesioth. Now, in my notes, I had written that this was just the OG hip check fish. I didn't think there was really, you know, much more to add, but this is kind of like the Monobolus situation. I'm saying more for Plesioth because I'm sick of the other ones that are around. I'm not really crazy about Geratodus. I'm not crazy about Lavasioth. At most, I could see Beatotus making a return. I think it was actually a pretty cool concept that they were working with on Beatotus. So I could absolutely see him making a return. And Plesioth, I think if we're going to, and I'm hoping that they, I don't know if I'm crazy about water combat, but I would like for them to kind of up the ante when it comes to water-based, water element-based creatures. You know, I feel like it's one of the elements that is hard to work with alongside thunder, so to speak. I feel like when it comes to ice, they cover that relatively well because Barioth more or less is enough. Kushala's weapons sometimes are more than enough, or sometimes some other weapon, or like, you know, Monster Hunter Rise's Gossarog, you know, as a decent enough option. And I feel like ice is usually covered pretty well. Fire is definitely covered between Rise and Sunbreak with all the fire options you have. You know, Almudron, Rathalos, I forgot the Blazing Mitsusune, but whatever that one's called. Espinas, Flaming Espinas, Magma, you got a ton of options. So there's really no need. But yeah, when it comes to water, I feel like Plesioth could just make it for a good addition alongside Mitsune, Royal Ludroth, and, you know, not Somnicanth, I'm tripping here. But yeah, Lagiacrys, Magmadron, or Almudron, there's a good couple of choices in there, so I think if we divvy it up, it'd be nice. Now, another thing here, I had mentioned this originally, and I didn't really do a whole lot of research, so this is on me, but originally I had said Hypnocatrice. Honestly, and I'm just going off of my notes here, I said because I think we need more Bird Wyvern monsters, and being one of the few frontier monsters to ever be in the mainline game is pretty cool, so why not make a return for the first one, I believe, to do it. Either this guy or Lavasioth did it, but I didn't really care to bother looking this up. But it's one of the few to use, I believe, the sleeping ailment on hunters. You don't see it often. Dimbazarios can do it, or Gravios is one of the two. Nightshade, Palumu, and there's a few monsters that can provide the sleeping element, or ailment, I mean, but I think Hypnocatrice might have been just one of the earlier ones, or, you know, so I figured it'd be a good enough addition on top of that. Plus, visually, looks really nice, so why not go for it? And Frontier Monsters. And we're going to dip into more Frontier Monsters as I go along with this. Now, another addition that I had on this one, and this one is just because this is a visual thing, if anything, I had said a Cantor. You know, when I was looking up the list of monsters to include in this list for the next scan, there was something about the wiki description that got me, right? So I had read the Acantor is a massive, vaguely snapping turtle-like wyvern that dwells in magma. And, I'll be honest, that alone, right, with just the part mentioning the snapping turtle part was, you know, just, hey, I don't know if we've ever had that before. You know what I'm saying? Now, he is, I believe, in Generations Ultimate, and I do own the game, and I played a decent bit of it, so I could honestly encounter him, but, you know, it won't compare playing from Generations Ultimate to something new gen, 4K, 60 frames, next gen console. You know, it's going to look beautiful, it's going to look great. We're going to have hopefully a big open area to explore with it. So I think it would just be nice to kind of have remnants from the past make entry into the new, and I think a Cantor kind of deserves the spot. Keep in mind, I'm not getting this confused with Agnator or Agnacator, whatever you call the clicking monster. Because I know it has its babies or young ones in the lava caverns area in Monster Hunter Rise, but it doesn't have the actual mom. And same with Zamtrius. The Zamites, the little babies are there, but not the mom. Speaking of Zamtrius, there's actually another water monster that I actually love to see a return. I'm kind of going with a few water monsters here. I got one more after this. With Zamtrius, I fought it in Generations Ultimate. I thought it was a super duper fun fight. I love the aspect that it gets ginormous and big and blobby, and it's kind of hard to interact with it, and then it comes down in size. It's powerful, it's quick, and I just overall like the idea of a ginormous shark beast or fanged wyvern. I'm not sure which of the two it is, but I enjoy the design aspect of it. So I think it should definitely make a reappearance for sure. Especially because I don't think it has to use water to actually navigate itself. So, you know, why not? And on top of that, or I guess behind that, I think this one's a fairly obvious choice with majority of the fans of the Monster Hunter series, but I feel like Lagiacrus has to definitely make a reveal. Now again, it's hard to say if underwater combat or anything like that is to return, which is kind of where Lagiacrus is supposed to, how would you say this? Lagiacrus is supposed to be the one, right? He is meant for underwater combat or water-based combat of some sort. You know, so it would kind of make the most sense that if underwater combat's going to make a return, please add the boy in there. Now, obviously they worked their way into adding some, you know, different monsters that kind of go underwater, like Somnicanth kind of glides its back along the water, Aurora Somnicanth, and then as well, Almadron kind of digs itself in. But it was actually mentioned recently on a podcast, I think it was with Gaijin and Rurikon. They actually made a mention that if you look at the details of it, Almadron actually clips through the floor, which is why it's able to do that half-body sauna little pose that it does when attacking. So I didn't know that. And Lagiacrus, I guess, is supposed to be a full-body model, so it kind of makes it a little bit trickier because they don't want to do the half-baked effort. They actually want to give it a try. So I respect that, and I hope that he makes an entrance, especially Abyssal Lagiacrus. Again, something I never fought, and I feel like it'd be really enjoyable to get a chance to, you know, fight it. Now, following with that, I did have some other Leviathans and other water-like or sandfish-like creatures, and like Cephadrome, Gobel, this and that, but not really personal favorites I'd like to see. I think they're fine for an addition. Like, if they came in the game, I wouldn't be upset, but not something I'm truly yearning for. I think I'm honestly fine with Almadron, Mizutune, Valma Lagiacrus. I love his Zamtrios. Royal Ludroth can come back. I don't care. I know Zamtrios isn't a Leviathan, but... And the discussion of water monsters. Now, maybe go ahead and get 2 more monsters in this thing. I don't want to make it horrifically long. So, these 2, however, I'm just going to go ahead and say they are frontier-based monsters. Based off of design, based off of fight, based off of gameplay mechanic. It's everything, and it's kind of, it's a fire and lightning. Right? I know I said, which is funny, I know that I said I wasn't too crazy about Diablos making a return or Black Diablos. That's fine. I don't even care for the big Apex version. I don't care about the Bloodbath. None of that. If I'm going to have one of the two, if Monopolis isn't going to make a return, then I would like, if they were 2 from Frontier, give Varu Saburosu, something like that. I'm gonna call the monster Varu for the remainder of this time. But Varu, right, is I think it's a variant. It's like one of the coolest variants I've ever seen, right? Again, Diablo's cool, iconic, crazy looking armor, aggressive, for first timers. But Varu contains a similar element and dynamic to the original Diablos, but with a bit of a fire touch to it. And as well, it's designed with the horns going downwards and the kind of skull-like structure of its face. The, not blood red, but like hot magma red that you see off of rocks and stuff is kind of represented through the whole monster's design. And I think that alone is what makes this monster look incredibly insane. I honestly haven't looked at any of the weapons and things like that, but I could imagine either they take old and make it new, or maybe they scratch whatever designs were from the past and they just kind of redesign everything, which could open up to some really awesome opportunities in design and structure. So I'm totally down for anything that can allow for this monster to make its entrance. Also, music. I haven't really said too much about OSTs, musics, and things of that nature, but Varu has one of the best themes I personally enjoy from Frontier, and I got a few others that kind of hit the nail on the head, and I'll have a separate video when it comes to the Elder Dragons that I'd like to see make the cut, but we're going to go ahead and stick with what we have for now. And I got this last monster, and this one falls, again, under a similar theme of out with the old, in with the new. On my Reddit comment or Reddit post video that I made about monsters not returning, I had made a comment someone had made a comment relating to Tigrex's monster they don't want to see for a monster that's been around for 15 years. It's had the exact same moveset from the get-go, and I totally understand. I've seen old Try For You, Generations, World, Rise. It is the exact same monster. Hasn't been any different. Hasn't acted any different. Doesn't look any different. And the only other one I got to fight was Brute Tigrex, which is just the same one but yells, or yells more. I find both of them boring. I don't think they're like design-wise. I think it's a cool concept what they did with Tigrex. Brute Tigrex just looks like a brown Tigrex. And that's about it. If we're gonna have another option of a Tigrex, obviously I could say, Grimclaw, but then you're talking about adding like a Deviant or something like that, and then Molten, which I think is a subspecies or a variant, and that's cool. I totally get those, but my frontier choice would be Dio Rakusu. Not because of the Dio name, but it's essentially a lightning Tigrex. And I think it's a design thing, it's a fight thing. I think I've seen the weapons of this one. If I remember, they're actually really interesting to look at. But there's something about the concept of lightning Tigrex, like Fire Diablos, lightning Tigrex. If we got like an Earth Zynoga or something, like I wouldn't be mad. I like when we can kind of shape and shift the monsters and the creations and how they were versus what they are now. And I like that idea. I like the concept of changing what we know. Like before, we used to have, again, Soul Seer Mitsutsune, and everybody was real comfortable with that concept. And then, they bring in this like flaming Mitsutsune, and a lot of people have complained about having too many fire monsters in the Sunbreak. So hopefully the future title updates do a workaround on that, maybe combat it with some water or thunder or other, kinds. But overall, I gotta say I super duper enjoy the concept of Lightning Tigrex. Fast, quick, charges pretty much the same way. But I mean, I don't know, the possibilities are endless when it comes to the viability and the application of these monsters. I think they can definitely take their time and work around some of these and see what options can be provided, weapon-wise, fight-wise, area-wise, this and that. Again, overall, this was just a personal list that I have. I will also say that this is just part 1. I do have maybe another 10 or so monsters, or 15 or more. So I had a huge list of monsters, honestly, but I'm breaking them into like 10 or so monsters each, give or take, because Again, I don't want the videos to ever run too long, but I do love Monster Hunter and I do really enjoy it. So, you know, it does it does consume another like 10 minutes out of me. But overall, though, if you enjoyed what options I had chosen, if you have personal favorites of your own, you agree or disagree, please let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. I appreciate all the support that you guys provide. Recently, I've had videos here and there kind of pick up, and for me, picking up is above 50 views, above 80 views, above 90 to 100, you know, so I really appreciate everybody who takes the time to watch what I try and work on. We'll get another video going, and I got other wish list ideas as well, not specifically just for Monster Hunter, but I have other things in mind. So yeah, we'll see how this goes, but again, I appreciate everything you guys have done. Be safe, and most importantly, have a good one. Peace.